welcome everybody. I'm very, very pleased to say that today is beautiful weather here in London. Amongst all the COVID challenges, it's a beautiful day today. Now, welcome everybody to this first online forum of the CTO, which is about technology, trade, and innovation. As we all know, this is the way we're going. We have to develop the digital economy infrastructure, and we have to make sure that the digital economy is inclusive, it's secure, and affordable. Otherwise, a lot of people will continue to miss out on this opportunity. Once we, our countries in the Commonwealth and beyond, develop the digital economy, there will be a lot of benefits. People will be able to set up their own businesses from their, from their own homes. However, there will also be challenges that we face. And this is why it's really important that this forum will look at ways that we can all cooperate, collaborate, and make sure that the digital economy, once developed in our countries, will help everyone achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. So welcome everybody.
Thank you, Nisa. Now, are you going to introduce our guest of honor this morning to get us started?
Yes, we should start with our opening session now. On that panel, we have the Right Honourable Baroness Patricia Scotland. She's the Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, or the Commonwealth Secretariat, as we all know it. And she will do the introduction, welcome speech, or goodwill speech, and that will be followed by the keynote speech that will be delivered by Paula, the Minister of Information and Innovation of from the government of Rwanda. So without further ado, I think we should, I will now give the floor to the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, and that will be followed by Paula Ingabari. She's the Minister of ICT and Innovation, as I said before, from the Republic of Rwanda. Honourable Baroness, you have the floor.
Good morning, good day, good evening, or good night, dependent on where you are today. It's a huge pleasure for me to be able to greet you, honourable ministers, Commonwealth friends, partners and counterparts. So many, many greetings. Had it not been for the coronavirus pandemic, the leaders and representatives of the Commonwealth family were to have assembled this week and day in Rwanda. So it's a distinct pleasure to be sharing this virtual platform with the Honourable Paula Ingabera, the Minister of ICT and Innovation, the Republic of Rwanda. The heads of government of our family of 54 nations would have been hosted this week in Kigali by His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, for the 2020 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, CHOGM, as it's more generally and lovingly known. That meeting has, of course, had to be postponed. When we are able to meet, it will be, I am sure, be a CHOGM like none that has gone before. As the nations of the Commonwealth and of the world more widely work to rebuild economic and social fabric and infrastructure, the need for inclusiveness and resilience will be of utmost concern. Inclusiveness and resilience have long been Commonwealth's watchwords. They're also central to the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. In that context, as in very many others, it is always good to see Commonwealth cooperation and partnership in action. So I commend the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organisation and Commonwealth Business Women's Network for convening this forum as a joint initiative. Technology, trade, and innovation are vital for tackling and recovering from the present pandemic and for building the economies of our member countries to be more resilient for the future. With COVID-19 having such far-reaching impacts in the lives of all our countries and communities, immense changes in the way we conduct our personal and business affairs have been necessary. Some of these are beneficial and we embrace them for the future. Others, certainly less welcome. And in the Commonwealth, we are working together to overcome the need for them. The accelerated adoption of digital technologies is very positive, and it is encouraging to see how rapidly innovative approaches are transforming our home and work environments, our healthcare systems, and the ways we trade. By compelling us to adjust to a new normal, the pandemic has brought home to us the vital importance of trade, technology, and innovation to all aspects of our lives and livelihoods. It has also underlined the urgent need to address digital divides by upgrading infrastructure and updating regulatory frameworks so that businesses and consumers can confidently and competitively engage in trade and commerce. As we recover and reconfigure our economies post-COVID, advances in technology and innovation open up broad horizons of opportunity for Commonwealth countries to develop new business sectors and to deliver improved services with enhanced market access. For example, advanced digital production technologies create new ways to accelerate innovation, boost productivity, and increase the value-added content of goods our member countries produce and services they provide. More generally, the rise of new technologies is already opening up new economic pathways with livelihoods and job opportunities that support inclusive and sustainable development across the Commonwealth. We have learned very swiftly how valuable these innovations are for more remote and virtual ways of interacting, working, and doing business. This includes in the healthcare sector, where COVID-19 is providing the impetus to develop and adopt new approaches. So equipping the clinical workforces in our member countries to utilize the trends and solutions made available through technology to the healthcare sector is an important area of focus for the Commonwealth. Indeed, we have seen the effect of the pandemic on the trading and availability of medical supplies. Some measures which have been introduced help to facilitate trade, while others tend to be protectionist in their impact. With so many of our member countries heavily dependent on transnational supply chains to support their healthcare systems, we must ensure that access to medicines and medical equipment is eased rather than obstructed. It is therefore important that trade measures introduced in response to the pandemic should comply with WTO rules and should take into account the special circumstances of developing countries, particularly of smaller, more vulnerable, and least developed countries. With global value chains being reconstructed, with countries increasingly looking to reshoring and regionalization, the WTO estimates global trade could decline by between 13 and 32% in 2020. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development estimates global foreign direct investment could plummet by up to 40% this year, and investment flows into Africa are set to fall by between 25 and 40% in 2020, and the equivalent flows to developing countries in Asia could decline by as much as 45%. These challenges have highlighted the need for technological innovation to reduce barriers to internationalization, to ensure that supply chains remain open, and to support e-commerce and borderless digital trade. New technologies can also help our Commonwealth countries to diversify the goods and services they produce and trade, and enable a wider range of participants to engage in international trade. However, we must be mindful that the persistence of significant gaps in access to and uptake of digital infrastructure and technologies across the Commonwealth means there are varying degrees of readiness to adapt to the significant changes and challenges resulting from COVID-19 and the increasing need for digital solutions in particular. The fallout from COVID-19 is thus likely to be uneven, with some of our member states affected far more severely than others, and this threatens to exacerbate existing inequalities within and amongst Commonwealth countries unless we redouble our collective efforts to collaborate and share knowledge. So, pooling experience and best practice on how to build inclusive and sustainable digital economies is crucial and mutually beneficial. We can increase our Commonwealth advantage by working together on regulatory templates and frameworks which encourage investment in the digital infrastructure and technologies that facilitate broader participation. These are going to be needed more than ever in an environment of significantly heightened pressure on budgetary resources in order to increase the affordability and accessibility of digital infrastructure and technologies. So we must also cooperate on developing the digital skills necessary to operate in the economy of the future. Digital literacy and confident ICT skills become non-negotiable for the empowerment of women, girls, youth, and marginalized populations. Female-run businesses are predominantly small, medium enterprises or micro enterprises, and these have been disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 lockdown measures introduced by governments. Many SMEs are connected to the tourism sector and its supply chains, and with the precipitate decline in travel to many Commonwealth countries, demand for their products and services has been wiped out, together with the livelihoods, security, and dignity it brings for many women. There is a worryingly high risk of long-lasting negative effects on female labour force participation, and the concomitant danger of setting back the progress made towards the empowerment of women and on eliminating gender-based violence. It is vitally important for such potentially far-reaching social and economic impact to be at the forefront of planning for the reset of our economies. So we had, as I mentioned, expected this week to be in Rwanda for CHOGM 2020. And when, in due course, our leaders and other representatives of the Commonwealth family are able to assemble in Kigali, these will be the considerations on which I am sure they will wish to focus. Indeed, at CHOGM 2018, our leaders emphasized the seminal role of ICT and of science, technology, and innovation more generally in supporting good governance, promoting inclusion and sustainable development, and reducing the digital divide. Regrettably, although a few of our member countries rank among the world's leading innovators, the majority of Commonwealth countries lag behind. Of the 130 countries ranked in the latest Global Innovation Index, only 29 are members of our Commonwealth. The Commonwealth Secretariat is very active in working to change that, as are other Commonwealth organisations and agencies. So let me remind you of some of the initiatives launched in recent years which are contributing to digital transformation and innovation in our member countries. The Hubs and Spokes Programme on trade, the Commonwealth Climate Finance Access Hub, the Commonwealth Small State Centre of Excellence, the Commonwealth Data Platform, the Commonwealth Digital Connectivity Agenda, the Secretary-General's Innovation for Sustainable Development Awards, the Commonwealth Blue Charter, the Necton Project, the Commonwealth Office for Civil and Criminal Justice Reform, and last but not least, the Commonwealth Innovation Hub. Central to each of these programs and projects is the vision and priority which I enunciated when I first took up the responsibility entrusted to me by heads of government. I described my determination as being to put the common back into wealth and the wealth back into Commonwealth. It is a goal that is now even more important in the context
Honourable Scotland, we've lost your sound, unfortunately.
Commonwealth Innovation Hub is a digital and data platform dedicated to developing and delivering innovative solutions which can accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in Commonwealth countries. It is provided as a shared resource for all Commonwealth stakeholders. So I invite you, indeed I urge all accredited organisations and entities serving the government and people of our member nations, including the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organisation and the Commonwealth Business Women's Network, to utilise it for developing even more inclusive and even more innovative approaches and partnerships with each other and with other stakeholders. Our current Commonwealth theme, which would have been very much our focus if, as planned, we had this week been in Kigali, is delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, transforming. In tackling COVID-19, its impact and aftermath, those words become even more stirring and significant than when they were first framed. Let us take encouragement from them and from one another as we plan and work to deliver a common future that is fairer, more sustainable, more secure, and more prosperous for all. Thank you.